What's going on, everybody? Y'all know who this is. Michael T. Johnson II here with Faithful and Fresh. What's happening? Shout out to the faithful few. Y'all know who y'all are. Man, Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. All of that good stuff, man. This is the first time I'm checking in doing a live during this year. And I'm excited about this year, excited about the growth for not only myself, but for you as well. Whether you are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, wherever you at, let yourself be known. Just put present. I remember when I was in school, I used to have to, somebody, well, I'm 36, so they used to call your name on roll call, and then they'll say, when I say your name, you say present. So I know it's late, but that don't mean that we can't be great. All right. Man, it is so much stuff that has been going on around the world. So much stuff happening in your life. So many things happening in my life. And I've been enjoying the ride so far. So far. Man, make sure if y'all in here, make sure y'all let me know. Say something, because this is my first time being on this year and I'm feeling a little rusty. So let me know if my mic volume is good. Let me know where you at. Let me know where you from. And we're going to get straight to it. If you haven't already seen the title of this great video, it is going to be, can you trust yourself in 2026? All right. Can you trust yourself in 2026? Go back. All right. So let's get it to. I got a couple people that don't let me know what it is or what it ain't. But before I get started, the fragrance of the day, as you can see right here, is Xerjoff Naxos, one of the two. But it is such a comfortable smell. When I say comfortable, it's such a comforting, let me put it like that way. It is this very sweet vanilla, almost like musk kind of smell. You know, funny enough, because I already look like I'm from the Middle East, you know, it kind of goes with me, and maybe that's what I'm into. But this is a great fragrance. I've always got a lot of compliments from this fragrance. It wasn't super expensive, but if you get a chance, if anybody knows about Xerjoff, you kind of already know about Naxos. And I have this Alexandria too, and I have one more too. I can't remember, but got a few of these. But if you get a chance, check it out during the winter and springtime. And I believe right here is a teak wood mahogany intense candle, along with some other stuff that I got in the back right here. So it's smelling pretty fragrant in here. But can you trust yourself with 2026? The reality of the situation is that whether you trusted yourself with 2025, you had to live it. All right. And some of us have went through 2025 liking who we were, loving who we are, disliking who we are, or hating who we were. But if you're still living, you still have an opportunity to change. And that's the beautiful thing, that no matter how long you've been going in the wrong direction, as soon as you turn around, you're going in the right direction. All right. So let me ask you something that is what I think would be super uncomfortable if you are being honest with yourself. And I would ask you again to say, would you trust yourself with the life that you say that you want in 2026? Would you trust yourself with the life that you want in 2026? If you're looking at, that's good. If you looked at all the things that you want, the money, the opportunities, the lifestyle, the traveling, the spouse, the body, all of these things that you say that you want, if you got it right now, would you actually sabotage it? Now, most people stay in a place of want and a place of desiring something that they do not have. All right. And inside of this, people are game planning and believing that they're going to be a certain type of person after they possess the person or thing that they actually are looking for. I'm here to tell you that not going to become that person once you get the money, once you get the spouse, once you get the house, car, career, whatever the thing is, the kids or whatever it is, or the big breaker opportunity that you're looking for. You're still going to be you. Now, for some people, they hate that I said that. For other people, they're asking the question, well, how do I make sure that I'm ready? Great question. Let me take a sip of this. All right. So the reason why this happens is because a lot of times what is happening at the core of it is when we talk about self-trust, all right, or another word would be integrity. Now, really, a lot of times that this becomes a problem is really because of one thing. You say you're going to do something and then you don't do it. It really doesn't matter what it is that you said you were going to do. It's that you said you were going to do something and you don't do it. And then what happens is now you trust yourself less and less. And then because of that, now you start to get trigger shy. Now you start to have negative thoughts in your mind that tell you, hey, I'm not going to actually really do this. Why even create the goal? It was interesting yesterday. Me and my guys in our group, we were talking about different things that we're going to do different this year. I guess you could say New Year's resolutions or New Year's improvements. And one of the things is the gym. And yesterday when I went to the gym, I usually go early in the morning when I do go. But yesterday particularly, I went, it was about maybe 6 or 7 o'clock. And when I went in there, it was so many people. And usually when I go in the morning, I usually don't see it's very few people. So when I seen that, I was like, man, why is there so many people in here? And as I was walking up, the guy said, man, how you doing? I said, I'm doing good. And I said, man. And then I thought about it. And I said, man, this looks about right for it to be January. And he was like, yeah, man, you should have seen it yesterday. And a lot of us have these New Year's resolutions to take care of our body. Some to take care of your money, your business, so forth and so on. But in this particular sense, on a physical aspect, there are so many people that want to eat right and get their body together or, just be healthy. And usually in January, I'm sure if we looked at the statistics or the numbers, you would look at gym memberships and see that you get a lot of people that join and probably even go a few times in January. And I'm sure as the year progresses that you get less and less, right? And what happens is that most of the time, each and every one of us has created a New Year's resolution, and somewhere along that line of this year, life happens. All right, you created the goal, you were imagining what it would be like if you did it, and then at the other aspect of it, life hits you, and then for some odd reason, maybe it's the weather, maybe it's a car accident, maybe it's a bill, maybe somebody passed away, maybe you got sick, and for some odd reason, you forgot by the time it got to March, you forgot what your New Year's resolution is. Truth be told, it might even be because you didn't even write down your goals, but I'm not gonna go too hard on you because I get it. All right, but what usually happens is that your self-esteem starts to deteriorate when you know that you said you were going to do something and you didn't do it. And as I've said before, the thing that hurts the most is that you know every single goal that you've made, and you know every single goal that you haven't hit, and you know every goal that you've said, and you know every one that you've lied about. All right, so at this point, we got to start identifying, do you trust yourself when you're alone? All right, do you trust yourself alone? And this is a big issue because a lot of times what happens, man, I appreciate y'all on the likes on TikTok. What's up, Cam? What usually ends up happening is, hey, Junior, knock on that boy door real quick, you feel me? And Cole, what's happening? So what usually ends up happening is because at this time, what usually ends up happening is that now we start getting to a place where people don't trust themselves alone. All right. Now people don't trust themselves alone. And I can get into that in a minute, but this is usually what happens is that now people have been telling themselves a goal that they're going to do, an aspiration or desire that they're going to do. They don't complete it. And then at this point, now this person knows that their friends or their family sees them year after year not accomplish or progress through life. And now at this point, this person says, you know what, I'm just going to chill by myself. And then when they chill by themselves, the bottle's waiting for them. The weed is waiting for them. The vape is waiting for them. The porn is waiting for them. The food in the fridge or the DoorDash is waiting on them. And now at this point, now isolation comes. And with isolation comes depression and anxiety, so forth and so on. So I'm getting ahead of myself, and I'm getting excited because I know that this to be true because I lived it. All right. So at this point, we have to identify, when we ask, do you trust yourself? What do you need to trust yourself for? Well, if you want to succeed in life and whatever success is for you, whether it's being a parent, a business owner, a spouse, or whatever the thing is, all right, if it's business, are you willing to make the call or send the email when you don't want to? All right. Are you willing to work out even when you don't want to post, even when you don't want to say you went and worked out? Are you willing to do it even if it's not that person that finds you attractive at the gym? Are you willing to still go to the gym even when nobody's looking? Are you willing to still budget even though nobody but you can see your bank account? Are you willing to discipline yourself and do that even though you might not in the moment see the fruits of it? All right. So we got to be able to see that because most of our lives are unsupervised. All right. If you're an adult, you know that most of your life is unsupervised. Now, if you want to be real preachy, churchy, then you can say, okay, well, God always sees me. But for the most part, the person that witnesses your life is going to be you. So we have to find out, do you have high levels of credibility or trustworthiness with yourself, or don't you? How many times are you looking for somebody to trust you when you don't trust yourself? You're telling your spouse, hey, trust me when it comes to this thing. Hey, when it comes to finances, trust me with this. When it comes to my faithfulness towards you, trust me with this. When it comes to where we move, trust me with this. When it comes to where our kids go to school, trust me with this. When it comes to can we budget our money, trust me with this. But yet and still, truth be told, you don't trust you. And the selfishness inside of us still wants somebody to trust us. And so we have to get to this point where we start identifying, even though nobody but you, for the most part, is supervising you, do you still have the integrity necessary? All right. So there's a scripture that I wanted to reference. If you are not a believer, that is okay for you. I'm not going to press that on you, but what I will say is I would encourage you to, man, hold on. Okay, something went on with my TikTok, and I hope I'm still good. If y'all still here, let me know. My Restream, which is with my platform where all my streaming goes on, it just sent me a message from my TikTok, but TikTok be tripping. But there's a scripture that I wanted to point out as a reference for you that are believers and just something good. It says in Luke 16:10, and it says, whoever can be trusted with little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. All right. And obviously inside of this scripture, you see that Jesus was talking about stewardship, responsibility, character, consistency. And the biggest thing about this is that the focus should not ever be on the opportunity itself, but who you are when the opportunity is small. All right. Most of us are looking for a big opportunity, a big break. Let's say you're a musician or a rapper, singer. Every one of us are, I say us as if I'm one because I'm definitely not. But at this point, let's say you're looking for that big producer to see your music. If you're a athlete, you're looking for, if you're in high school, you're looking for that college scout. If you're in college, you're looking for that NBA scout. We're always looking for this big opportunity. Maybe you're looking for your manager, your boss, the CEO, or whoever to see you doing good work. And then say, you know what? Hey, listen, Jimmy, you've been doing a great job. Let's give you a promotion. We're all looking for this opportunity, but do not let the opportunity dictate who you are as a person because of a position. All right. And so at this point, what you have to do is be able to be faithful over the few things or the littler things so that you can end up being a ruler over many things. And so if you cannot be trusted with the little, you will not be able to be trusted with the lot. All right. A biblical reference would be, let me change that. A biblical reference would be, am I on here looking cool? Okay. It looked like it was blurry on my mind. But if you look at for a biblical reference, which you will find out is that you look at David. All right. King David wasn't just promoted right to being a king when he started his, to be integral. David was integral even when he was a shepherd. All right. When he was a shepherd, he was being integral. He took care of his sheep. All right. It wasn't about the fact of the matter that he had more sheep than everybody else or the best sheep. It's just that was the position that he was given. And throughout that position, he still made sure that he was integral with that job. All right. He didn't sit there and would shepherd the sheep and then take one for himself. And then he said, hey, I had 100 sheep. Now it's only 99 here. What happened there? He said, I don't really know. All right. He properly managed that position, even though it wasn't connected to a crown. All right. And there's a lot of us sometimes that we're waiting on the crown to start acting like a king. Some of us some women are waiting on a crown to start acting like a queen or to being a queen. I don't even want to say acting. All right. And so this is the whole thing, is that God is testing us throughout these opportunities that we get, and whatever it might be. I work as a teacher right now. It would be a shame for me to start operating at a professional level when I got to being a principal or a superintendent. That would be terrible for me to disrespect the position because I thought it wasn't a priority because, where I'm at positionally. I'm a teacher and then the principal is up here. But the reality is that I steward what I have in whatever position that I have, because I know that inside of God's divine design, there is no mistake. There's no mistake inside of God's divine design. And so what I want to make sure that we do is understand that at this point, what is the opportunity that you do have right now? What is the opportunity that you do have right now? Golden, what's happening with you? My guy, Golden, he's starting off photography. All right. Now, at this point, I'm sure that there are some things, and then my dude Josiah, he runs photography. He's at a different level. Now, if my dude Golden looks at my dude Josiah and says, man, I can't wait till I get here to start operating as a professional, he already missed out. All right. There's this position that he has right now that he can operate as a professional. All right. And so, man, I'm just thinking about this, but you don't want to have to wait to have like positional professionalism. All right, just meaning that you don't want to wait till you get to a space for you to start being a certain type of person. Be the type of person, and the position will come. All right, so because the truth of the matter is that God doesn't promote potential. All right, God can instill talents and gifts, and that can equal to potential. But God doesn't promote you on potential. He promotes you on proven integrity. And if you don't trust yourself at the place in which you are right now, not saying that God wouldn't do this, but how right would it be for you to try to put pressure on God to promote you when you don't trust yourself, other people don't trust you, and then you say, well, the only person that's supposed to trust me is God. All right, so at this point, God understands that with these promotions, what also can happen is that you can also end up adding a lot of bad exposure to people if you end up not knowing how to handle that positioning that you're looking for, that opportunity that you're looking for. You have actually a lot more potential to hurt people if you don't have the integrity that's necessary. All right, so this takes a little bit of skill, but we're going to go through this. All right, and so you need to rebuild your self-esteem. You need to rebuild your self-trust. And what happens is that you need to start off small. All right. You need to start off small, meaning what you need to be able to do. Yes, sir. It's too late. That's a fact. So what happens, you need to be able to, shrink your promises, so to speak. And what this looks like is, I'll give you an example. I had a student that we were talking about budgeting and investing money or storing money. And I remember I told him, I was like, Mr. Davis, can you save $1 a day? Now, this student was, frequently making money through his job. And he's like, man, Mr. Johnson, I can save $5 a day. I'm like, man, like save $1 a day. He's like, I got you. He ends up saving it the first day, second day, third day. The rest is history. He ended up falling off. And the issue was not the amount of money. It was the repetition or the frequency of building up a new habit that ended up ultimately being the thing that hurt him. All right. And so what happens is that the new year comes up and you thought you was going cold turkey every big issue that you had in your life. And you're saying, I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to travel more. I'm going to save my money. I'm going to get my body to right. I'm going to stop going this place. I'm going to stop messing with this person. You did too much. You did too much. Maybe you just don't know how to cut off people automatically. Maybe it's just that you just need to change up the proximity just a little bit. Maybe you don't stop hanging with them. Maybe it's just that you just don't hang with them as much. All right. So you need to be able to shrink those promises. You might be saying, hey, I'm going to read the whole Bible in a year. Hey, maybe you just need to read the verse of the day every day. Maybe just start off with a verse. Maybe it's not that you need to just go from eating and drinking so bad to now you're just a vegan. Why don't we just try and just do maybe a juice cleanse for a day? All right, if you need juice, my wife got them, so hit me up if you need it. But if these are things you need to be able to start figuring out, hey, maybe you don't change anything in your diet. Maybe you just intermittent fast. Whatever the thing is, but you need to be able to shrink the promise so that you can keep, so you can stay committed to your commitment and do it consistently. All right. The next thing is to practice integrity in private. Doing the right thing even when people do not clap. All right. You want to be able to keep your promise even in private. The reason why this is so important, man, because let me see, what time is it? This is all right. The kids should be asleep by now at this point for most of y'all. Do you know how much porn and masturbation has went up? Like there are when you hear sex sells and different things, like, do you know, like, man, there are a lot of people that get into porn and sex and masturbation. All right. And the whole thing of why I'm saying this is that the reason why this ends up becoming such a big thing is because it's done in private. All right. And these private strongholds or these private problems end up keeping people in bondage for so long. All right. So the main thing is that even when people are not seeing you, you need to be able to keep these promises. I need to be able to keep these promises in public and in private. All right. Even when there's not a whole bunch of likes, even when people are not subscribing to you, even when you don't get the raise, even when people are not coming to you all the time for advice, you need to be able to do this. And you also need to be able to affirm yourself. You need to actually be able to make sure that you are the best cheerleader that you can be for yourself. All right. You need to be able to make sure that you're the person that is always being able to celebrate any level of victory or progression that you have in your life. All right. In entrepreneurship, this is a big thing. This is a big thing that most people miss, because in entrepreneurship, you have to be that, because if you're waiting on the crowd to congratulate you, you will quit. At the very least, slow all the way down. But when you're an employee, you have different awards like Employee of the Month. Maybe you get a promotion. Maybe you might get some feedback from somebody, at your job, where they might say, hey, you've been, leading these people, or, hey, this product, you made so many of these products, you've made so many sales or whatever. And usually other people see what you did and then they congratulate you, they encourage you, so forth and so on. But in entrepreneurship, you have to be your own cheerleader, your own marketing team, your own, service provider. You have to make sure that you give out feedback cards or emails. You got to be the innovation. You got to be the person that does market research. You got to be the person that understands the trends, understands how to serve the trends, how to create a trend, and so many other things. All right. But in this case, when we're talking about do you trust yourself in 2026, you have to be a person that realizes that at the very least, you encourage yourself. All right. A person that does all of these things but still does not understand the person that they are is robbing themselves. All right. They're robbing themselves. And let me give you this formula. These candles are starting to hit. It's smelling great, y'all. It's smelling great. Now, what usually happens is this. There is, well, let's just say there's a fact. All right. There's a fact. And you can look at this in a positive and negative way. All right. You can look at it. You can choose to look at it in a positive or negative way. From this positive or negative way of how you look at this thing, that is a thought. That thought, repetitiously thought, starts to become a belief. From that belief that you have about this particular thing, now at this point, there's two things that it can lead to: anxiety or anticipation. All right. Now that you are having this belief, this anticipation or anxiety leads to an emotional response. So let me give you an example. All right. You go through a situation and somebody says, hey, I believe that you're going to be a great entrepreneur. Now, you might think, yes, I am, or no, I'm not. Now, based off of this, that becomes a belief system. Now, if you believe that you're not going to be a great entrepreneur, then what's going to happen if you get into entrepreneurship? What's going to happen is you're going to start having anxiety because you're going to start thinking that I'm not going to actually be what people think I am. So that is ultimately going to come from a outcome that is not desirable. All right. And then what happens is this lets off an emotional response. All right. That leaves that anxiety and so forth and so on. And the whole point of why I'm sharing this is because this is the reason why people start to not believe in themselves and continue to believe that they're not worthy. Because when you jump into entrepreneurship, you have to be the person that does the work on the way that you view things, the way that you view your business, the way that you view, the way that you are, the way that you view your business, and where you're going to go. If you're not willing to do this, you're going to allow a belief that might not actually be true to control your life. And at this point, what ends up happening is that as time continues to progress, you start to find yourself being more anxious about your future. You deal with more anxiety instead when you can actually live in a place of anticipation. All right. So at this point, shrink your promise. Make sure that you're practicing your integrity and keeping your promises even in private. And then lastly, making sure that you affirm yourself. And I put this down as a side note because I had a student today. I promise you, right hand of God, I don't have this on my notes, but let me just share it with you. I had a student today that asked me, Mr. Johnson, what would you tell a student if he wanted to get into the adult filming or adult, what would that be called? Adult entertainment. And I thought about it. I was like, man, that's the first time I ever had somebody ask me pretty much, what would you say to a student if they wanted to do porn? Like, man, that's kind of a crazy thing. So what I ended up saying to him was what I would challenge that person to think about was if they had a son or a daughter in the future, would they be proud to say that they were in the adult entertainment industry? And from that point, we had a cool conversation, and I did more listening than talking in this case. But my whole thought pattern is to say this. Ask yourself, would you be proud of the person that you're going to be from these decisions that you make? All right. Now, the whole point of this is to be able to hopefully subtract you from being too impulsive. All right. You're making decisions. You're doing this, you're doing that. But to be able to take a quick second and say, okay, cool. I'm making this decision. I didn't go to the gym. I didn't budget. Will I be actually proud of this tomorrow? And if you can ask yourself that, and if you can actually ask yourself that and know if you weren't proud of it, that you would actually make the adjustment, then you could put yourself in a place of anticipation because you know that greater is coming. and soon. So my goal isn't just to make sure that at the end of the year that you enjoy. Let me say it like this. I wrote this down. I just didn't want to sound like it was so teleprompterish, but I put this in my closing. My goal isn't just that you enjoy the year; it's that you enjoy yourself at the end of it. All right, and that's what the whole point of me being here is to do. There are a lot of things. There are a lot of things that you can do, good or bad. And the issue is that a lot of times throughout this year, you're going to have to do things alone. All right. That's just the part. There's some support that I can offer you, some support that other people can offer to you. There's some people that can't wait to help you, some people that never will help you. But at the end of the day, there's going to be something that you're just going to have to do alone. You might have a friend group that, like I said, we go to the gym. Hey, if my friends don't go, am I still willing to do it? If I want to develop in my spiritual life and nobody else wants to do it, if my kids don't want to do it, my wife don't want to do it, will I still do it? Hey, you know what? If I want to budget my money better, then other people don't want to. Am I okay with still doing it? All right. And and the closer that you get to the top, the lonelier you will find out that it gets. All right. And so I wanted to share that with you because I want you to be able to trust yourself alone. Do you know how many people are scared to be alone? Do you know how many people have so much anxiety when they're by themselves? They're afraid to hear themselves think. And most of the time it's not because of anybody else. It's because of the fact of the matter that they've seen that they have failed themselves in certain aspects and they don't like the way that they hear all the negative self-talk. Do you know that there are some people that are scared to be alone because they know that they're going to go get that drug? They know that when they're by themselves, they're not disciplined and they need that accountability partner. They know that when they're by themselves, most of the time, what they're going to do with their day is they're going to sleep it away. All right. And so most people are not going to do this. So this is why it's so important to make sure that you are that person. If you do not have a group of people that can support you, then make sure that you join the Faithful Few Patreon. I'll give you this story, and without saying names, I'll share the importance of support. I had a gentleman that I mentored, and he has now learned how to make money from a skill that I help people to learn. Well, unbeknownst to him, he was going to go through a tragedy in which he never would have predicted. And his father passed away. All right. This young man had his father pass away. And at this point, the same day that it happened, he was able to call me. And I was able to be some level of support to him, not only for that day, but the following week and the week after that, a week after that, so forth and so on. And this was something that at this point, it challenged him when it came to, does he trust himself alone? And one of the questions that I asked him was, through this situation, has he been reading the Bible? And he was like, no. And then I said, because he smokes weed. And I said, well, have you been smoking weed? And he said, yes. And I said, man, just start working on changing that a little bit. Just, read a verse, read, whatever, and try to stop, try to limit your weed. And we start talking about the grieving process and so forth and so on. But, the whole thing is at this point is that I was able to have this conversation and he felt comfortable enough to be vulnerable, transparent, and to invite me into his mindset. And he said this. He said, Mr. Johnson, do you know that there are some times where I talk to people and I go by, and then he said, as soon as I get done talking to them, I immediately feel alone. And he said, when I start feeling alone, it feels dark. And he said, there's other times when I'm with people and I still feel alone and it still feels dark. And I know that this happens to more people than what we care to admit. It's happened to me. Maybe it's happened to you. But this is the importance and the strength in numbers. All right. And it's important to have like-minded people that you have in your corner that can help you through this. I'm not saying just preach to you or just talk to you. I'm saying to be able to help and have resources and tools and references of things that can help you to get past this. Because there's nothing more. Let me say it like this. I love me. And truth be told, I like me a lot. I like and love me so much that I want to be around me all day. And guess what? I get to. That everywhere I go, I get to take me with me. That's how much I like myself. But it took me a while to get to that spot. Why? Because I kept breaking my word to myself. But when I started to be able to keep my word to myself, now I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I'm not saying I always keep my word. But what I can say is that I started to appreciate myself a lot more when I was able to keep my word to myself. And I brought down my goals from trying to always go to the most biggest, craziest goal in the world that I wanted, where I wanted my life to change so quickly. And I started to just say, you know what, let me just, step by step start to grow. Let me build some momentum because I want to be able to trust myself when I'm alone. Because most of the time in my life, in these aspects, when I'm doing things, I, in a way, have to do it by myself. And so many of us end up forsaking our paths because of the fact of the matter that we have to do it alone, and we want a group of people to go. All right. It's usually not going to happen like that. A lot of times it's going to be you doing it by yourself. And after you get to that point, when you appreciate and you love and like yourself, what ends up happening is then all the people come. But more times than not, in the beginning, some people support you. And at the end, when you got it all together, then they support you. But it's in the middle where you really need to support. So I'll leave with that. And let me make sure I get this on ready. I'll leave with that. And if there's anything that I can do to support you in any way to make sure that you know that you are not alone, and if you are alone, that you, at the very least, should be able to trust you. And if you can't, let me give you, for those that are believers, if you can't trust yourself when you're alone, I pray and I hope that you will still put your trust in God when you're alone. That's all I got for right now. I love y'all. If y'all need anything, let me know. If you need help, make sure that you drop. Let me see. What's the tag word I need to use? What would be a good? Somebody give me a good tag word. Like if you need me to, this is what I do. Just say this. If you need help, type 2026 in the drop box, whether you're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Drop 2026. I make sure I message you, and I won't bombard you with any salesy, pitchy stuff. I just make sure that I can be able to be an assistance to you. But till then, stay faithful, my friends. Peace.
Stay faithful, my friend.